Number 7. Robert Majica Jr. 24-year-old Robert Majica Jr. from Michigan was arrested in August of 2018 after the bodies of his sister and her boyfriend were discovered stuffed inside trash bags. Majica's father had filed 2 missing person reports on August the 25th of 2018 after his 18-year-old daughter Danielle and her 19-year-old boyfriend, Saren Bryan, had been missing for 2 days. The following night, the family's younger brother Kevin noticed a strange smell coming from the shed located in the backyard of their mobile home and went to investigate. Upon discovering the trash bags, he cut one open to see what had been generating such a horrid smell, only to find an arm inside of it. Once the police were called, Robert fled the home in his van to the Toledo bus station and hopped on a bus that took him to Cincinnati, Ohio, where police later tracked him down and arrested him. He was wearing a blonde wig, sunglasses, and a hat in an effort to avoid getting recognized. Not only was Robert charged with 2 counts of first-degree murder, but he was also charged with premeditation when an investigation confirmed that certain items, such as a hammer, duct tape, and a shovel, had been previously obtained and that the crime scene had been strategically cleaned up. Robert's defense claimed that he was mentally ill, having previously been diagnosed with bipolar disorder. However, a mental health examination ordered by the court concluded that he was mentally sound to stand trial, to which the jury convicted him of first-degree murder. During the trial, Robert expressed no guilt for what he had done and refused to make a statement twice, leaving the motive for the murders unknown to this day. He was sentenced to life in prison without parole. Number 6. Imonte and Eric Morgan. On the 8th of August of 2021, 29-year-old Chicago police officer Ella French was performing a late-night traffic stop when she was shot and killed. She was the first officer who died by gunshot wound in Chicago since 2018 and the first female officer in 33 years to be fatally shot on the job. The car that she and her 2 partners stopped due to expired plates contained brothers Imonte and Eric Morgan. All 3 officers had their guns holstered when 21-year-old Imonte opened fire, shooting French once in the head, killing her and critically injuring one of French's fellow officers, Carlos Yanez Jr., who received bullets in the brain, eye, and shoulder. Imonte went on to exchange fire with the 3rd officer before handing the gun to 22-year-old Eric to continue the shootout. At some point during the exchange of bullets, backup was called, and the Morgan brothers were eventually overpowered and apprehended. Yanez was rushed to the hospital in critical condition but ultimately recovered from his wounds. Imonte was faced with several charges including first-degree murder, 2 counts of attempted first-degree murder of a peace officer, and aggravated unlawful use of a weapon. Eric was charged with unlawful use of a weapon and obstruction. The brothers have since been separated and taken to detention centers in different jurisdictions for security purposes. Number 5. Owen and Gary Shover. On the 13th of January of 2019, teenager Aranda Briones disappeared in Riverside, California, after 18-year-old Owen Shover, her friend from Moreno Valley High School, had allegedly dropped her off at a park. He claimed to have seen her get into a gray 4-door sedan, but the police's investigation of surveillance video discredited Shover's claim. Briones had gone missing that evening and remained missing for an entire month, before police were finally able to link Owen and his 21-year-old brother, Gary Shover, to her disappearance. Despite not having found her body, police had uncovered evidence suggesting that the teen had been murdered, and on the 11th of February of 2019, Owen was arrested on suspicion of murder while Gary was arrested on suspicion of second-degree murder and conspiracy to commit a crime. Both brothers pleaded not guilty to the charges but are being held in separate detention facilities without bail. A trial has yet to take place and Briones' body still has not been found. Number 4. Angel Alvarez. On the 8th of April of 2022, 22-year-old Angel Jose Alvarez, his 27-year-old brother Juan Diego Hernandez, and their 46-year-old mother Guadalupe Maria Davia Rodriguez were arrested for a crime that Alvarez committed 4 years earlier. On the 7th of June of 2018, 2 fishermen arrived at Osmond Lake in Michigan to fish when they found blood on the dock along with a broken headlight and a blood-stained shirt. They called Oakland County authorities to report the scene, and when police arrived, they sent a dive team to search the lake after discovering drag marks and additional blood in the dirt that led to the end of the dock. The dive team retrieved the body of 20-year-old Emilio Valdez from the water. An autopsy revealed that Valdez was shot twice and had still been alive when he entered the lake. Valdez's sister reported that earlier on the same day he was killed, she saw her brother get into a black Pontiac Grand Prix and had heard gunshots ring out before the car sped off. She had been unable to get a hold of him since then. That same day, police received a call from Guadalupe Maria Davila Rodriguez reporting her Grand Prix stolen, unaware that her son Angel Alvarez had taken it. After the murder, Alvarez ditched the car, which contained a shell casing, blood, and Valdez's phone. Police found out that Alvarez and Valdez knew each other, and when they questioned Alvarez, he claimed he had no knowledge of the murder. Despite the fact that the police believed Alvarez was somehow involved, the evidence they had at the time simply wasn't enough to arrest him. After 4 years of investigating the case, they finally gathered enough evidence to incriminate Alvarez. While a motive for the murder has not been disclosed, police believe that something went wrong between the 2 young men that led to the murder. He was charged with open murder and using a firearm in the commission of a felony. His brother Juan and mother Guadalupe were also arrested and charged with being accessories to open murder after the fact. Number 3. Samuel and David Rogers. On the 22nd of August of 2020, 26-year-old Thomas Rogers was killed by his 2 older brothers, 30-year-old Samuel Rogers and 32-year-old David Rogers, while he sat in his car in Birmingham, England. The 3 brothers, along with other family members, had allegedly been fighting for a number of reasons, which had resulted in Thomas no longer being on good terms with them. Samuel and David became increasingly hostile towards their younger brother due to the family's problems and eventually decided to attack him. They didn't keep it a secret either. The night before the murder, Thomas received text messages from David threatening that he was going to come kill him. David and Samuel drove from Mansfield to Birmingham to carry out the attack. They found Thomas sitting in his parked car on the side of the street in broad daylight. They parked in front of him, got out and walked up to his car. While David stabbed him in the chest through the open window, Samuel recorded the assault on his cell phone. Afterwards, they quickly got back in their car and fled the scene, leaving Thomas to die. When emergency services arrived, they found Thomas lying in the street and rushed him to the hospital where he was pronounced dead. David was found guilty of murder and is serving a life sentence with a minimum term of 18 years in jail. Samuel was found guilty of manslaughter and is serving 9 years. Number 2. David and Ryan Campbell. On the 6th of May of 2021, brothers David and Ryan Campbell stabbed 2 men in an alley in the early hours of the morning. 22-year-old David and 17-year-old Ryan left their mother's apartment at around 2:30 a.m. to walk to a nearby store where they got into an argument with 2 random men. The argument escalated, and video surveillance that police later obtained showed the Campbell brothers stabbing both men multiple times and beating them up. They fled back to their mother's house where they left behind their bloody clothes. They told their mother that David had been stabbed in the leg and chest and that they were going to the hospital. In reality, they fled to California. When police arrived on the scene, they found 1 man lying on the floor surrounded by blood. The other man had managed to call for help and had already been driven to the hospital. Both men received emergency surgery, but only one of them survived. The other man, Francisco Pineda, died due to complications following the stabbing. The Campbell brothers were arrested in California on the 26th of May and were charged with battery with a deadly weapon, conspiracy to commit battery, attempted murder, and open murder. Number 1. Michael and Darius White. On the 13th of December of 2021, Annie Mae Smith, a 65-year-old woman from Virginia, was shot at a gas station during an attempted robbery. The perpetrators were 29-year-old Michael White and his 22-year-old brother, Darius White, who came up to Smith demanding her to hand over her wallet. During the interaction, 3 shots were fired, all of which hit Smith in the chest. Despite the efforts of emergency medical services, Smith was unable to recover and died at the scene. Both brothers had prior records and had been in and out of jail for years leading up to the incident. Michael had a previous felony conviction and 8 prior misdemeanor convictions, while Darius had 4 prior felony convictions and 5 misdemeanor convictions. In this case, they were both charged with first-degree murder, use of a firearm in commission of a felony, robbery with a firearm, and possession of a firearm by a convicted felon. Thanks for watching. Would you rather have to live with a sociopathic older brother or a 12-hour delay on all your phone notifications? Let us know in the comments section below.